Well, to quote a famous songster, I talk to the trees, but they don't listen. In fact, it was sung by Robert Goulet, but also in the movie of Paint Your Wagon, Clint Eastwood. He was the one who talked to the trees. Does it work? I mean, this was basically, from the character's perspective, the pointlessness of talking to trees and talking to stars and admitting your love. But there is some body of evidence that talking to plants and trees has some positive properties, whereby just a simple conversation can get those begonias in full bloom. To question this, and this is what we subject to all scientific claims, is the question, is that bullshit? Which is a form of fertilizer, which will probably help tree growth more than talking to it. And who we talk to about talking to the trees is Sadie Dingfelder. She is the author and the journalist who comes on to The Gist. Her book is Do I Know You? A Faceblind Reporter's Journey into the Science of Sight, Memory, Imagination, and Conifers. Hello, Sadie. Welcome back.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Do you do this? Are you a botanist of any renown?
I am not. I don't really understand how plants work, but I've learned a lot.
From this assignment?
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
Good.
I don't think I've ever written about plants, only animals.
People talk to trees or plants, but they sing to trees and plants also, don't they?
I did not come across that, but apparently you have.
Yeah. I just maybe have wandered into weird recesses of the Brooklyn Botanical Garden. There's a lot of chatter going on. A lot of chatter.
People are talking to the plants in there?
Yes.
Just talking.
People are talking to the plants. People are talking to vines. People are talking to moss. They're just talking to everything. Maybe they're just on
earbuds?
Yeah, maybe they're earbuds or having some sort of florid hallucinations. And it's
Florid?
there you go. And the talking is just coincidental. So, okay, let us first establish, what is the claim? What is the claim that people make on behalf of the generative properties of conversation vis-a-vis the herborific?
So the soft claim is that talking to plants help them grow.
Uh-huh.
And then the harder claim is that plants actually care about the content of what you're saying to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. The just talking to them, that seems like you could do an experiment on that. Have they?
No.
What?
Well, okay. So there's no research specifically studying people talking to plants. Nothing. But there's a lot of pseudo research, actually.
Great. Let's dive in.
Well, first of all, on my way here, I saw there was a store called Someone's Name's Garden.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh, I'm going to just pop in there and do a little reporter on the street and ask this guy if he talks to his plants. But I went in and it was a pot shop.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought it would maybe be a Billy on the Street type segment where you just run around to trees and ask questions and see if they gave you any information.
That sounds very Conan O'Brien.
Yeah. Well, it's Billy. It's Billie Eilish. This is not Billie Eilish. What's the guy's name? Billy Eichner? Billy Eichner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Billie Eilish on the street.
I was like, that would be really
runs
strange.
up to people and just is extremely shy. Right? Sticks the mic in the face and it says, "Are you a stupid guy?" Okay. So, pseudo information. You did a little first person investigation.
Yeah, didn't come up with a lot, but I have been asking my friends. A lot of my friends talk to plants.
Okay.
And I immediately made fun of them.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to eat my gardening hat in a minute. But
well, if they're, if they're a delicious vegetable, if they're a sweet potato, eating to, if not the hat, then the actual plant might be, delicious, might work.
Healthy.
Yeah.
So, okay, in 2004, Mythbusters took up the case, the television show. But they had a problem with their greenhouse irrigation system didn't work at all. And so when they went to check the plants, they were all wilted. Uh-huh. But even so, if you believe they were all equally deprived.
Yeah.
They found that sound did make them grow.
What? Wait, what? Our irrigation was screwed up. We didn't try to correct it and do it again.
Yeah.
But they all died or withered at a certain rate.
Yeah.
But there was some talked to plants and some weren't, and the talked to were comparatively better. Is that what they found out?
Yeah, the ones that did the best were heavy metal was played at them.
Sure.
But the one with a woman talking to them, did pretty well. And then the ones with no noise didn't grow that much, but I couldn't find numbers or anything. And they definitely didn't do any statistical tests that I'm aware of.
I would say the myth is intact.
I think it's intact. Yeah. They said it's plausible.
You just did a bad experiment. The irrigation system didn't work. Oh, my God. Moving on. By the way, am I making this up? Is Skunk Baxter from the Doobie Brothers, is he one of the Mythbusters?
I have no idea, but I hope so.
Yeah. So that would be weird if they went, well, I don't know, weird, but heavy metal. Why not just pull it back into the yacht rock that the Doobie Brothers are known for? Unless Skunk Baxter had no involvement in the Mythbusters, and it was James Hetfield from Metallica. Maybe he was an actual Mythbuster. Okay, so that was an experiment that seemed really weird. What else happened next?
They get worse from here.
Oh, great.
In 2013, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science had a situation where you could tweet at their plants, and then a mechanical voice would read it.
Okay.
And they only had 2 plants.
Yeah.
And they lost their findings, or they couldn't find them.
God, this is comically tragic.
I know. And then there was one by the Royal Horticulturalist
Let me
Society.
guess. They, in passing, said something, and then they lost it in a fire, and then they followed the ashes, and then with some of the ashes that the plants that they talked to, they fertilized it, and then they lost that in a flood. Is that what happened?
I don't know, because they didn't respond to my emails. All I could find was that they, in like other media reports, said that they had 10 tomato plants total in their whole study.
Okay.
They played, volunteers reading famous works of English literature. And the female voices caused the plants to grow up to 2 inches taller than the male voices.
Oh, okay. That's something. It's such a small sample.
Such a small sample, yeah. And but that's all we have so far. And so I thought, well, we won't know. But interestingly, I did find a survey by trees.com. Mm-hmm. I could not find any methodology on this survey, but according to them, 48% of people admit to talking to their plants, and 1/4 of the plant talkers also kiss their plants.
Oh, okay.
And that includes King Charles.
King Charles is a type of plant? Oh, you mean King Charles.
King Charles is a avowed and enthusiastic plant talker.
He is. He's into a lot of things like, horticultural, maybe royal horticultural pursuits. All right. So terrible, terrible studies, lost results, self-selected, non at all thorough study design on trees.com. This is horrible.
Yes.
This is just a disaster. Anything we could hang this claim on? Anything solid?
Well, after reading the worst studies I've ever read in my life, I read the best study I've ever read in my entire life.
Thank you, Sadie.
I
knew you'd pull it out.
So as it turns out, there's a whole area of science called like phyloacoustics.
Okay.
And it's about how plants respond to sound. And it's super interesting. And one of the like papers that sort of broke this field wide open was, let's see, in 2019, these scientists at Tel Aviv University did an incredible study where they found that evening primrose flowers respond to the sound of buzzing bees by ramping up their sugar production, making their nectar 20% sweeter.
Interesting.
And this one had hundreds of flowers in it.
Interesting.
And the way that they did it is they had what I'm assuming were grad students hold like a little, actually a very advanced speaker, and like by each flower like it was a bee for like 30 seconds before moving on.
Yeah.
And they also, of course, had to empty the nectar before they started. Mm-hmm. So, and then test the sugar for each flower.
Yeah.
And then measure the nectar after they did the test.
Wow.
And they had so many controls, right? So they had speakers that were playing bee buzzing sounds that were recorded, that they recorded. But they also had a speaker that was playing, let's see, human speech. No, that's not right. They had it was a sweep of sound from 50 to 1,000 hertz.
Okay, so just random noise, but within a range.
Yeah, but I think it's probably not random noise. Like, I think it's like, boo. and then back down.
That's good. Good job.
Thanks.
I'm flowering.
And they also had a silent condition. So that means some of these grad students are holding a speaker by the flowers.
Like an idiot.
Yeah.
But like do they put the grad students in noise canceling headphones so they don't even know if their sound is emanating?
That just occurred to me too. I was like, is this double blind though? What if they're good vibes?
Are they dressing anyone in black and yellow stripes? Do they have a little stinger for some of them in the back? That's a commitment to the bit.
But it was just a really impressive finding. So the flowers responded to the buzz.
Bee noise,
and they
rando noise, speech noise.
Not speech, sorry.
Oh, not human speech.
Just the random speech sweep in the human audible range.
Yeah.
They also did a sweep in the ultrasonic range, so not audible to humans. And they did, the recorded bee buzz and silence.
Mm-hmm.
And so they found, that the plants responded to the bee buzz and also the audible sweep. So they're responding to sound.
Yeah.
And so the next question was, what part of the plant is responding to the sound?
Okay.
And they thought that it was probably the petals.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did a study where they found the natural resonance of the petals, and it was 200 hertz. Which is roughly the same like hertz as pitch as a bee buzz.
See, this makes sense. I love this because it's not just magical thinking and maybe talking to plants. They said, well, why might talking to plants work? Maybe it's in the same realm of sonic sound. So we'll just eschew the idea of actually talking. We'll get the kind of sound that is in the same range as the humans, and they then measure it to see if it works. I like that design. Remember we talked about the buttons with the dogs and it just seemed like nonsense? This is not nonsense. I like this study.
Well, you know what? We're the ones extrapolating to humans talking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they mentioned it anywhere in their paper.
Oh, okay.
They were just curious if plants could respond to any sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
But some of the sound would be human sound. But anyway, forget the human. It doesn't matter. I don't want to over-index for if human speech is very important. Just different sounds. And you're saying that it was 20% sweeter with the buzz sound, and that the sweetness comes from or it's affected on the petals. Did they find that?
Okay, well, it was also 20% sweeter for just the sweep of noise sound, like different pitches.
Yes.
And it has to come from... it has to be within the audible range because it didn't respond to ultrasonic or so and then so then they measured the natural resonance of the petals and they found it to be about 200, which is bees are 200 to 500 hertz, or the species of bees that pollinate evening primrose, and moths are about 100 hertz, and the petals responded a little but not much.
Right.
The way that they figured out that it was just the petal is they encased the petal in glass and they played the sounds for it too, and the petal did not vibrate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They protected it from glass would stop the noise from coming through.
Yeah, and it wasn't the other parts of the plant were not capturing the sound. It was that means this is so cool. That means that the petal is acting a lot like the hair cells in our ears.
Oh,
because you have a hair cell or a few of them to capture every single hertz, every single band that we can perceive. Mm-hmm. These flowers just have one, as far as we know. But that mechanical vibration is how our ears work too.
Is this cilia? Is this based on cilia? The little hairs? Are those cilia?
Those are little hairs, but I feel like they're not cilia.
Damn.
But I remember thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, we have little hairs everywhere.
Right,
but I guess they're not similar.
Yeah.
But they're really cool. I mean, it's a very mechanical, and that's why we respond to sound a lot faster than visual things, because you're skipping a step, basically.
Do you know if evening primrose growers have used this in their cultivation?
I do not know, but we aren't really cultivating primroses for nectar.
Oh, it's just a byproduct? That's not where most of our nectar originates from. Well, nectar's for the bees, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, they only chose evening primrose because they had a bunch around.
Yeah.
But okay, so we don't really know about if talking to plants would make them grow, but this seems pretty solid that talking to plants would cause evening primrose to produce sweeter nectar, and at least they're definitely, in some sense, perceiving sound, right?
Yeah.
So
if you can extrapolate from that, there is some sort of an effect of noise to plants, and then the extrapolation is human speech is noise. Maybe it'll help, if not nectar production, maybe growth.
But really interestingly, so they did do one for growth. Not these researchers, but a different group of researchers were looking at strawberries.
Okay.
And they didn't just do gentle bee buzzing sounds. They blasted these strawberries.
Everyone's always going reaching for the heavy metal.
They are.
It doesn't even seem they're scientists. They're just trying to make a point and be funny.
Oh, by the way, the really good experiment had findings that totally match with the bad experiment, the Royal Horticultural Society.
But wait, was that
and the Mythbusters? They're all in the same direction.
Huh? And what did the last one that you were talking about, the strawberries one? What did they show?
So the strawberries is an interesting and complicated story, where they blasted the strawberries for 2 hours a day or 5 hours a day of pretty loud broadband sound, and they so 70 to 100 decibels. 0.1 to 1 kilohertz. And they did it for 22 to 72 days. Anyway, the point is that they looked at the number of leaves, the number of flowers and berries, and the concentration of 5 different hormones. Mm-hmm. And the sound had different effects at different stages in the growth of the plant. And it seems like it's acting like a general stressor. Oh. So for the 2 hours a day, that actually caused the plants to be sort of mildly stressed out, and they did grow better, they flowered earlier. But at 5 hours, it stunted the growth of the plants.
Yeah.
So
just too much. Shut up.
So
you're overwhelming me with chatter. Yeah.
Right. And none of the conditions are like what a human talking to a plant would be. But if you want to yell at your plant like a drill sergeant, just make sure it's not more than 2 hours.
For 5 hours. Yeah. You don't want to make preserves. That will be very, very, very tart. Yes, I would think.
And then there's all there's other research showing plants responding quote unquote intelligently to other sorts of environmental sounds, like roots will grow towards water, the sound of water.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's so interesting.
But the strawberry stuff, I wonder if that's a weird design. I wonder if I'd like to see, they did 2, they did 5. I wonder if there is, no pun intended, a sweet spot of that. That'd be interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. I don't know how they put those 2 endpoints, because that's just a lot of noise.
And the only thing that resulted was the growth of the strawberry, not the sweetness, not the...
They didn't test the sweetness, but they counted, the growth of the plant, and then the flowering, the number of flowers, and the number of strawberries.
All right.
Yeah.
So talking to plants will help plant growth. Is that bullshit?
So plants respond to sound for sure. And... they probably, I feel, they don't care what the sound is. So, and I feel like it's very unlikely they care about the content of our speech. But a woman is going to be more effective than a man, at least according to the Primrose study, because women voices happen to overlap with pollinator sounds.
And they're better listeners, let's face it.
I guess, but if you have a plant that's pollinated by moths, then a man talking to it might be better.
Yeah, I guess, but most plants are like, I don't know, you ever hang out with a man, it's just a lot of stuff about him, they never ask any questions, they never pause. Yeah, maybe the plants go on strike, I don't know. Yeah. They're just treating me in the corner like I'm a house plant. I mean, I happen to be a house plant, but it's, one of the complaints about people who are out on either dates, figs, or any other sort of plant with a man.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go back, though. Talking to plants can help growth. Is that bullshit?
It is not bullshit. Surprising.
Mm-hmm. The irrigation system of Mythbusters is deficient. Is that bullshit?
It is definitely not bullshit, because they had a problem.
I think that their irrigation system needs a major overhaul. And you can't read the limited studies and findings from that one experiment. That's just my opinion.
Well, they were in the right direction, though, so...
A former member of the Doobie Brothers in Mythbusters. Is that bullshit?
I have no idea. Do you?
That's good. No, this is the right thing to do. After we're done, I'm going to look up Skunk Baxter. Sadie Dingfelder is the author of Do I Know You? A Faceblind Reporter's Journey into the Science of Sight, Memory, and Imagination. She comes by, she plays Is That Bullshit with us. Thank you so much, Sadie.
Thank you.